So I was scrolling through Roblox one night, doing what every normal person does when they're avoiding responsibilities, and I noticed something strange. There were dozens of Rick and Morty games popping up, which isn't unusual because Roblox players will turn literally anything into a game. You sneeze in public and somebody's already making a Roblox simulator out of it. But one server caught my attention immediately because the thumbnail looked cursed. I mean, Rick looked like he'd gone through 7 divorces, Morty looked like he hadn't slept in 3 weeks, and the title simply read, Rick and Morty Dimension C666. Now, whenever somebody adds the number 666 to anything, you know they're trying way too hard to be edgy. So naturally, I clicked on it because my brain has the self-preservation instincts of a goldfish. And immediately upon joining, I knew something was wrong. Not in a creepypasta way. Not in the, ooh, spooky, scary Roblox way. I mean, genuinely wrong. The entire map was silent. No music, no ambient noise, nothing. It was like somebody muted reality. You know how weird silence becomes when you expect noise? It's like walking into a birthday party and everybody stops talking the second you enter. The map itself was a recreation of Rick's garage, except everything was slightly off. The portal gun on the table was upside down. There were random Morty heads hanging on the wall. The family photos had been replaced with images of Pickle Rick staring directly into your soul like he'd witnessed unspeakable crimes. And the players inside the server weren't talking. That's the part that freaked me out the most. Usually Roblox players are fighting over who gets to be Alpha Sigma King of Ohio, or whatever the kids are saying these days. But everybody in this server was dead silent, just standing there. Starring, like NPCs waiting for an update. So I typed in chat, hey guys, nothing. Anybody here? Nothing. Then suddenly one guy walked over to me. His avatar was Rick, except the face texture was stretched so badly that the eyes looked like they'd escaped from different dimensions. He simply typed, don't trust Morty. That's it. No explanation. Just don't trust Morty. Then he left the game. Bro vanished faster than my motivation after downloading a productivity app. And at this point, I was invested. I had to know what kind of fever dream I'd stumbled into. So I explored the map and discovered a staircase leading underground. Which wasn't supposed to exist because I've watched enough Rick and Morty to know there isn't some creepy basement dungeon under the garage. Unless Season 11 drops some insane lore bomb, I'm pretty sure that isn't canon. So I headed downstairs and found what looked like hundreds of Morty clones lined up against the walls. Every single one had different facial expressions. Some were smiling, some were crying, some looked terrified. And they weren't images, they were actual NPCs. Hundreds of them. Just standing there, completely motionless. I felt like I'd walked into the world's weirdest Walmart. Then one of them moved. Not all of them. Just one. He slowly turned his head and said, he's coming. Bro, I nearly ascended. I don't care if it was scripted, I don't care if a developer manually activated it. That caught me completely off guard. So naturally, because my survival instincts are powered by expired batteries, I kept going deeper. And things somehow became worse. I entered a room where giant televisions covered the walls. Every screen displayed random clips from Rick and Morty, except the audio was distorted beyond recognition. Imagine somebody shoved a microwave inside another microwave and played the soundtrack through a potato. That's what it sounded like. Then I noticed something disturbing. Every clip featured Morty. Not Rick, just Morty. Evil Morty. Regular Morty. Cowboy Morty. Lawyer Morty. Every possible variation. Whoever made this game clearly had an unhealthy obsession. At this point, I checked the player count. 23 players. 23 people willingly entered this psychological experiment. But when I looked around, I only saw 5 people. Which immediately raised questions. Where were the others? Had they left? Were they hiding? Were they trapped inside the Morty chamber? Did they become Mortys? I had no idea. Then another player approached me. This one had a Jerry avatar, which honestly was terrifying enough because nobody voluntarily chooses Jerry. That's like waking up and deciding you want disappointment as a personality trait. The Jerry player typed one sentence. He watches through the TVs. Bro, what does that even mean? This wasn't communication. This was fortune cookie horror. Then the guy reset himself and disappeared. I started laughing because the entire experience felt so absurd. Like imagine explaining this to someone. Yeah man, a digital Jerry warned me about televisions while surrounded by an army of Mortys. You sound clinically insane. But then something happened that made me stop laughing. One of the televisions changed. Instead of showing a Rick and Morty clip, it displayed my avatar, live. Standing in the room, looking at the screen, I paused. My brain paused. Everything paused. Because I knew that wasn't supposed to happen. I turned my camera around. Normal room. Normal avatar. Turned back to the TV. Still there. Then the avatar on the screen waved. I wasn't waving. The thing waved by itself. I genuinely jumped. Which is embarrassing because I got scared by Lego Rick and Morty. Imagine explaining that to your ancestors. These people fought saber-toothed tigers, and here I am losing my mind because Polygon Morty decided to become self-aware. Then the screen cut to black. Text appeared. Find Rick. And suddenly alarms started blaring throughout the entire map. Every Morty NPC upstairs began running. Hundreds of them. Sprinting. Screaming. The sound effects were distorted so badly that they sounded like demons arguing over Wi-Fi passwords. I panicked and ran. Not because I thought anything bad would happen. I just didn't want to deal with whatever developer cooked up this nightmare. As I sprinted through the hallways, I noticed players running too. Nobody was speaking. Everybody was in survival mode. And eventually we reached Rick's garage. Except Rick was standing there. And this wasn't normal Rick. This man looked exhausted. His lab coat was covered in blood stitches. One eye was missing. He held a portal gun. And above his head was a dialogue box. You're too late. Bro, too late for what? I joined this game 5 minutes ago. I didn't even know there was an assignment. Then Evil Morty appeared. Except he wasn't normal sized. This dude was the size of Godzilla. Giant Evil Morty burst through the wall while distorted music started playing. Players scattered in every direction. People were resetting themselves. Somebody screamed, "Skibidi help," in chat before being launched into orbit. It was absolute chaos. And I couldn't stop laughing because this was simultaneously the funniest and most cursed thing I'd ever seen. Giant evil Morty started firing laser beams, while Rick yelled random voice lines that sounded like they'd been recorded through a refrigerator. Buildings exploded. NPCs flew everywhere. And somehow, in the middle of all this madness, Jerry was sitting on a couch eating popcorn. He wasn't reacting. He didn't care. Jerry had transcended reality. Meanwhile, I discovered something horrifying. Giant evil Morty wasn't attacking randomly. He was targeting specific players. And every player he eliminated disappeared from the player list entirely, which meant those missing players from earlier probably got erased too. Suddenly, the server count dropped from 23 to 17, then 16, then 14. Players were vanishing left and right, and I realized this entire server functioned like some bizarre event game where evil Morty hunted everybody down, which honestly is kind of genius. Disturbing, but genius. Eventually, there were only 6 of us left. Rick shouted, "Open the portal," which wasn't helpful because he neglected to explain where the portal was. Thanks, Rick. Outstanding teamwork. We searched everywhere until somebody found a hidden button behind the television, and the second we pressed it, a portal opened. But instead of escaping, the portal led to another room, because apparently suffering was mandatory. This final room contained hundreds of pictures covering every wall. Fan art, screenshots, memes, strange edits, every piece of Rick and Morty content imaginable. And sitting in the center was a throne. On the throne sat a player, not an NPC, an actual player. Their username was simply Morty. No numbers, no weird symbols, just Morty. They typed, "Welcome." Bro had been sitting there the entire time like some ancient deity. Then they said, "You've entertained me." And immediately, the game shut down. Not disconnected. Shut down. Server closed. Everybody kicked. I sat there staring at my desktop like I'd just experienced digital whiplash. And naturally I thought, there's no way this was intentional. So I searched for the game again. Gone. Completely deleted. No favorites. No history. Nothing. Which made the whole thing even weirder. Maybe the developers shut it down after the event ended. Maybe Roblox moderation finally woke up from their yearly nap. Or maybe I hallucinated the entire thing after consuming unhealthy amounts of caffeine. Honestly, all 3 explanations feel equally believable. But I swear on everything, that server existed. Somewhere out there, somebody spent countless hours creating the most bizarre Rick and Morty experience imaginable. Not scary in the traditional sense. Not horrifying like some creepypasta trying too hard to be edgy. No, this was disturbing because it felt like a fever dream created by somebody who watched every episode of Rick and Morty while locked inside a Chuck E. Cheese. And somehow, despite everything, despite the giant evil Morty boss fight, despite the army of screaming clones, despite the cryptic Jerry philosopher and the self-aware television, I kind of respected the insanity. Because Roblox is a place where creativity and absolute nonsense collide headfirst at 80 miles an hour. And every once in a while, you stumble upon something so strange, so chaotic, and so unhinged that you can't help but appreciate the sheer commitment behind it. Even if the experience leaves you questioning your sanity. Which, if we're being honest, is probably the most Rick and Morty thing possible.